Hi, I'm Jose Perez III. I'm the lead game designer on Capcom and Airtight Games' Dark Void. Dark Void is really a labor of love for us at Airtight Games. We've been working on it for maybe a little over a year and a half. So over the course of this demo, which I think you guys get to see about 13 minutes of goodness, I'm just going to kind of explain some backstory and give you an idea of who you are and kind of where you're going. So the metal-headed guy right there, that is you in the game. And by you, I mean Will, who is the star of our game. Will starts out as kind of an everyman cargo pilot, and he has to do a routine cargo mission to London. On that flight, of course, he has to fly over the Bermuda Triangle, and insanity ensues. And he crash lands into this parallel dimension known as the Void. Once Will, or you, crash lands into the Void, he meets up with these other survivors who have crashed there as well. And that's the guys that you saw at the beginning of this demo that were kind of helping him stand up and all died a horrible death. But when he meets up with those survivors, he finds out that for quite a while they've been going up against this seemingly unopposable ancient race known as the Watchers. And that's those robotic jerks that you're seeing Will shoot at out there. The survivors, in a very crafty and nimble way, have been stealing Watcher technology and retrofitting it and creating their own weaponry, equipment, and vehicles out of it to take the fight back to the Watchers and try to get out of the Void and back home to Earth. So you'll notice that Will's face, or his helmet I should say in this, looks very similar to some of the other robots that you're seeing walk around. That's because they literally stole the head of one of those Watchers, retrofitted it, and made this helmet out of it. So with the help of Nikola Tesla, who is one of the survivors that's crashed in the Void, you'll be able to take those technologies and upgrade your character. So he starts out with just a leather jacket and a gun, and eventually he upgrades to a hover pack, which turns into a rocket pack. All of these things will give him a strategic advantage. So similar to a lot of games that are coming out nowadays, we too have a cover system. We are using Unreal 3, and Gears of War is a game that a lot of us around the studio played probably a little bit too much. But unlike Gears, we have some things that really do separate us out on a horizontal level and make us even unique in this aspect. One of those is the ability not only to jump, but to hover. So with the hover pack, I can really take on these enemies from different angles. And we think this really allows for a lot of player creativity as you go through, even on a horizontal level. And in a second, I'll talk a little bit more about verticality and how we use that to even differentiate ourselves more from a lot of the games that are coming out nowadays. So early on in the creation of Dark Void, we took one of our original builds to Capcom, and we were all looking at it and we were playing it, and at that time it didn't really have anything that helped us truly separate ourselves from a lot of the other games that are out there and give us something that's really exciting and kind of something we could hang our hat on. So we kind of looked at the game that we had and we said, how can we make this better? What can we do to make our game different and interesting that isn't being done in other games? And Capcom and Ed Freeze talked a lot about three-dimensionality and how most games really do happen on really just a 2D plane. And how can we take this idea of a 3D space and really exploit that and use it to our advantage and make something interesting out of it from a gameplay perspective? So we took that idea of verticality and I took some of those concepts of cover, and we literally said, what if we took all that and we turned it on its side? And that's what you're looking at right now. This is called vertical cover. So similar to the horizontal cover, I can SWAT turn from one of these cover points to another. My camera is actually looking up right now, and Will's holding himself into place with the help of his hover pack. Now from this position, I can actually ascend this cliff in a way that we're doing that we haven't seen done in any other game. There's a lot of fun in this, from watching the Watchers fall to, like you're seeing right here, hanging on for dear life.
All right. Remember to turn home.
Watching the robots fall by is always fun, hasn't got old to us yet. Meleeing them in the face, even more fun, because we're sick, demented people like that. You can easily go from vertical to horizontal with the simple press of a button. So getting up close to a watcher can end in deadly results. Whether they choke you or try to poke you in the eye, you really need to do your best to get away from them and use a melee to take them down. Melees are performed in a really simple way in Dark Void. You just have to get up close enough and hit the right button. Unfortunately, that's not always as easy as it sounds. When you've got a big group of enemies out there, running up and trying to start punching guys in the face isn't really the best tactic. We really have a lot of inspirations going into the art direction and gameplay of Dark Void, ranging from Boba Fett to Commando Cody. So our artists looked a lot at those old pulp movies, and we took those ideas, and instead of doing kind of a fanfare version of it where we don't really respect the material and we kind of dun-dun-dun, our guy's a superhero guy through it, we're trying to take those ideas from those old cool pulp serials and treat them with a kind of a modern twist and a respect. So you'll notice that our character has some of that old 40s flavor, but there's something about him that just feels a little bit cooler for today's audiences. Right here you'll see the disintegration gun. It's really a great weapon. When you're up, it's kind of like a shotgun, but a little different. When you're up close enough to the enemies, one hit it's going to disintegrate them, the metallic enemies. And from a distance, you have to get a couple of shots off before you can hit them. Doesn't have a lot of ammo, but causes a lot of damage. It is sad, lots of survivors will die over the course of this adventure. So Airtight kind of has a heritage for making flight-based games. One of the last games that a bunch of people at our studio worked on was for the Xbox, and it was called Crimson Skies High Road to Revenge. So we're taking a lot of our knowledge and a lot of the things that we learned in creating that game, and we're going to be applying that to Dark Void. So what Will's doing right now is he's upgrading very quickly to the Rocket Pack. Now that he has the Rocket Pack, he has the ability to do something that a lot of third-person games don't have. And that is jump to his death. No, it's fly. So he actually has a rocket pack. We have a full flight ability. There's a bunch of special moves that you can do when you're using your rocket pack. And like I said, our team is really comfortable with the flight-based stuff. So we really feel like we've got something pretty cool when we get into these rocket pack segments. At this point, Will could go back into a hover state with a simple press of a button and start trying to shoot these guys with his normal machine guns. But what he wants to do, or the best way to take down these UFOs, which is your current objective, is to steal another UFO and then use that UFO's weapons against the other UFOs. I'm also trying to figure out just how many times I can say UFO in a single sentence. So with the simple press of a button, Will actually fly over to the UFO, land on it, and now we've got a little grip-based mini-game that you have to do to peel that guy out of the inside of that cockpit of that UFO and steal it and make it your own. So the player's still in control here. They have to jump to the back, hold down the B button to rip off this panel, which will open up that creamy center. Jumps in there, grabs the robot. We've got a fun little mini game. Pull the gun away from him, shoot him in his robot face, and now the UFO is ours. And this is when we really get into dogfighting, and again, it plays into the heritage of Airtight games, and it's just a lot of fun to do. At any point, if your UFO really does start to take a lot of damage, we don't have repair stations or anything like that to fix it up. What you need to do is you either need to land it and get out and find an AA gun or something and start taking out UFOs. Or with a couple quick taps of the button, you can leap back out of that UFO and you're back into your rocket pack state. And from there, you can grab another UFO and get back to the dogfight. Eventually, through the upgrade system, you will be able to upgrade your rocket pack enough to where it does have guns on it, and you won't have to hijack these UFOs, but you really won't have as good of firepower. In the beginning of the game, like we were saying, because of the upgrade system, the rocket pack doesn't have any weapons on it. So your only ability to take down these UFOs is to do the hijacking sequence, like we've shown earlier. Over the course of the game, as you upgrade, eventually you will get weapons on your rocket pack. You'll be able to take down these UFOs without ever having to hijack them. Creating a world that can support both on-foot gameplay and in-air dogfighting gameplay and maintain an artistic quality level is something that's really difficult to do. Fortunately, at Airtight Games, we have a very, very bright team, and they're doing their best to make sure that not only does frame rate hold up, but that the world looks beautiful, whether you're flying around in a UFO or your rocket pack, or you're on the ground shooting at evil, ugly robot bastards. It'd be a shame to work on a Capcom game and not have some big frickin' bosses. Enter the Archon. The Archon is actually one of the smaller bosses that you'll fight over the course of your adventure in Dark Void. Similar to the hijacking game that you saw in the UFO, when you whittle this thing down to a certain amount of health, you'll be able to jump on the back of it and rip out the watcher that's inside of it, destroying this big metallic beast. All in all, we still have a huge amount of work left to do on Dark Void. We do have some time left. From the time of this recording, we have about 9 months left of production, and we're really just busting our arses trying to pull this thing together. Hopefully when it comes out, we've got something exciting for you guys to play. So please just stay tuned and tell your friends about Dark Void.